Good afternoon and welcome to Marjon Live and the talk on sports development and coaching. My name's Kari. I am one of the student recruitment team here at Marjon, and I'll be the person controlling our Q&A box today. So if you do have any questions, please do pop them in as we go through the talk. And what we'll do is after the talk, we will then get to the questions and hopefully respond to all of them. But we'll also and we'll do that either by asking various people the questions or by dropping a reply in the comments box. So I'm joined today by two current students, Cully, who is a second year on sport development coaching, and Bethany, who is a second year on sport coaching and physical education. We're also joined today by Phil Brown, who is the programme leader for these courses, and Ryan Thomas, who is a senior lecturer on the course. And I'm going to hand over to Ryan now to talk a little bit more about the course.
Thanks, Carly, and thank you everyone who's joined. Really great that you've engaged with the open days during these really strange times. So really thank you for your interest in the course. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through hopefully something that is no longer than 15-20 minutes of me talking. We certainly don't want any death by PowerPoint. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through some of the key themes and some of the things that you're going to study on this particular course. You're bound to have some questions along the way. As Kari has mentioned, there's a Q&A box. I'm hoping that with the hour session and just a 15-20 minute presentation that will go over the key bits, it leaves us plenty of time to maybe discuss some things around the course afterwards, so you can get all your questions answered and any kind of concerns you may have, particularly around studying in this kind of new way of working. So first of all, thank you for your interest in Marjon and interest in this course. Very quickly, just highlight there on the screen the fact that we've done quite well as a university recently in some kind of metrics that we use in higher education for kind of ranking universities. We're ranked #1 in England for teaching quality. That's been 2 years running. 6th in England for student experience, which means that when students come to us, they tend to have a really good time, not just with their course, but their whole university experience. And we're also got the silver for the teaching excellence framework, which is a pretty good thing to get as well. It means that our teaching is, again, across the whole university, it is pretty good. We'd like to think that it stands up against any degree that you might go on. Specifically around this course, we received 93% satisfaction in the last national student survey. So that is something that all students at the end of their degree do. So for the foundation degree students, that'll be at the second year mark. For our BA students, that's the third year. So 93% of students doing those courses are satisfied in the course. And in particular, all students felt that staff were really good at explaining things. This presentation aside, probably. There was 100% feedback satisfaction in terms of feedback on work. So when you hand in any work, the quality of the feedback and the timing of the feedback and how you receive that. And also with regards to specialised equipment facilities or rooms. So if you've not had a chance to look at any of the virtual tours, you'll see that some of our classrooms, our sports facilities are second to none. So again, that's hopefully indicative of you making a good choice for this particular course. So the first thing to highlight is, why does sport need developing? And I think the first thing I'm going to mention to you is that during lockdown, I think we've all realised how central to our culture sport is. So if you were thinking to yourself, why should I perhaps study this at university during a very uncertain period of time? I think at the moment, we've all realised how central sport is to our lives. The good thing about that is that we need people to develop that and make it better, so that we can look at how we can transform and use sport to transform people's lives. So improving people's health, bringing communities together, enhancing educational opportunities, or providing hope to people. I think the Premier League restarting, ignore the debates around whether it's too soon or not. I think for many people, it's like a thank God for that. And for many of us, sport is central to our lives. And I think it needs people with some really good robust skills with regards to managing events, with regards to coaching, to be able to do those things properly. And we'll go through some of those in the presentation. Sport also builds relationships. It brings people together. Again, something that we're realising during lockdown, that sport sometimes is a natural thing that allows us to interact with others. It's quite often common ground, and sport, whether that is at grassroots level through maybe making friends with your son or your daughter's sort of parents and building networks and friendships that way, or whether that's elite sport and sort of building networks within sort of elite high performance environments. Generally, sport can be a great platform to reduce inequalities and bring people together. There's two ways we look at sport, really. Sport because we love it, and sport because we might be looking to develop something else. So this is what we call sport for sport on the screen at the moment. This is us looking to develop sport just because we want more people playing sport, because it's inherently of itself a very good thing. So that might involve activities from what we call foundation phase, people getting people involved in sport for the very first time and get them to really love taking part in sort of organised activity, all the way through participation, which might be a range of community clubs, through to performance, which might be those that have been identified as talented, and excellence, those representing their country and doing well at the national stage. So we need people to develop sport at all of those levels. There's not enough people doing sport, not enough people joining clubs. Some clubs are very well run, some aren't, and we need to help people progress to be the best they can be. That therefore needs various members of staff at various stages along that particular pathway to enable that to happen. Or we could be using sport for other benefits. So we could be looking to develop various areas of society by using the power of sport for greater good. So that might be about developing people, developing facilities, working for particular organisations and making them run better. It's about this notion of providing opportunities for all. And sport quite often is seen in this country, particularly in the last sort of 20, 25 years, as something that can be used as a tool for wider good. So the previous slide is about sport just because we want more people playing it, winning more medals, winning more matches, because we think it's a good thing. It's good for the nation. It's good for those people doing it. But we also see sport as something that can improve someone's health. So sport or physical activity is something that obviously is healthy for physically and mentally. It's something that can help to reduce crime by being a distraction activity for many people. And it can also be used to enhance education. And we're seeing increasing examples of sport being used as a way to spread wider messages about workshops and attending different courses or improving educational opportunities, and sport being used as the hook for that. And that's something that will come across really strongly in this degree, that sport isn't just 3 o'clock on a Saturday played by people on the TV, but sport has the power to influence many, many people across the whole country. And one question that we asked nice and early is what the coach's role is in all of that, because so far it's a sports development and coaching degree. You might be talking quite a lot about the value and the power of sport. Quite clearly, to enable all these things to happen, there's someone quite often at the coalface that is quite often a coach or an activity leader, enabling these things to happen and spreading these messages. So for us coaches, on Good Coaches, is about inspiring people to get active and then stay active. It's about guiding those people on a journey of improvement. So whether that is sport for the sake of sport, someone who just wants to win a medal and to test themselves and be the best they can, or whether that is someone that wants to lose weight, or someone that wants to make new friends, or someone who just wants to volunteer with their local community group. Coaches quite often guide that journey of improvement. They are a conduit to other people. So the act of coaching itself for the coach isn't just about helping others. It's also about the coach's own individual and personal well-being. And I think that's really important to bear in mind as well. Coaching in of and itself is a really good thing to be doing, and volunteering in local communities, or even getting paid to obviously deliver coaching work for lots of people as well. Coaching itself makes a valuable sociable and economic contribution to society, and for many people, good coaching has really good benefits for the participant and, like I say, for the coach themselves. So that's the approach that we take to coaching. That may involve coaching people at the elite end. It may involve coaching people at grassroots and community. For us, we probably focus a little bit more on grassroots and community. That's because we feel that's where coaching has some really good value, and it fits in with how the government are viewing sport at the moment as well. So this particular degree, you will hopefully get the opportunity to understand lots of different areas around sports development and coaching. So you're going to get the chance to look at coaching, look at the role of education, and not in terms of necessarily the national curriculum, but the role of sport in educational establishments. We'll look at the pathways from grassroots to elite, look at management, so that's management of people, management of events, management of budgets and different projects. We'll look at the impact of wider society, so you'll get to understand what is going on in the wider world and how does that impact on sport. So why is it that certain groups are marginalised? Why can they not take part in sport as easily as others? And how do we understand those people and break down those barriers? So tied in with that, there are also really strong notions of inclusion that we cover as well. This kind of thinking that everybody should have access to sport and to physical activity, to have all those physical and mental benefits, and to be an active part of their community. So we want to help you on this degree to understand people as well as the process. You will understand the processes and how to make things better, but quite often there are individuals involved in those processes. So we're going to hopefully help you to understand the people behind those processes. We want you to help make things happen, whether that is for sporting good or wider social good. We want you to be an advocate, not just for the university and for yourself, but for your local community, and to go out and make those things happen, to improve things, to intervene and make things better. We want you to have knowledge of the sporting landscape, who works with who and why, and how you might be able to sort of forge new partnerships and make things even better. We want you to improve and influence those who you come into contact with, and we want you to hit the ground running upon graduation. And tied into that, on this degree, there is a great deal of real work with real organisations, and I'll hopefully give you some examples of that during this session and the other students too. So rather than take you through all the different modules, they are on our website, and we might be able to put that link into the chat box for you. What I'm going to highlight is some particular themes that link in with both sports development and coaching, like general topic areas that you'll probably get to cover on this particular degree. So the first one is notions of management and events. So you'll look at how to deal with an event itself and the role of events in sport, to showcase what you're about, as well as managing different projects. You'll look at this notion of do we develop people through sport, or do we develop sport itself? So some of the things I've just mentioned. There's a really kind of high sort of significance of employability within this degree. So we want you to be exposed to real people, real projects. There is a year-long placement in the second year, but on modules even in the first and the third year, so sandwiched sort of either side of that. You're also going to have many opportunities within modules to get involved with real organisations and work on some of their projects. So you get exposed to some of the very people you hopefully may end up working for in the future. You'll get to, again, look at sort of different policies that drive how people might work and interact in different organisations. With regards to coaching, we don't just look at the coaching process itself, how to plan a session, do a session and evaluate a session. We'll take that further. We'll look at relationships and connections along the various ways, so how you might interact with different people. We'll look at how coaching can transform people's lives in different communities. We'll look at inclusiveness through coaching, and we'll look at coach education and qualifications as well. So one thing to bear in mind linked to that is that we are one of only a handful of higher education institutions across the country to receive the CIMSPA sort of accreditation. So CIMSPA, the Chartered Institute for the Management of Sport and Physical Activity, they are kind of the overarching body for sport and physical activity in this country. It means that our course is aligned with industry best practice and industry best standards. On this degree, you'll have the opportunity by the end of the second year, or if you're doing your foundation degree, to be aligned to the CIMSPA assistant coach framework. If you're doing the full 3-year degree, you'll have coach, and you'll also have the opportunity to get the working in a school environment accreditation too. So by the end of your degree, you won't just have a degree, you won't just have lots of hands-on experience and opportunity through the modules and the placements, but you'll also have this stamp of approval from the organizer or the overarching body for sport in this country, which is really important for you for when you're ready to go into an employment. So just very quickly on there, there's a few careers that some of our students have gone on to. Some have gone on to other study with master's degrees or PGCEs and going into education. Others have gone and worked in specific community sports settings like community trusts at professional football clubs, active partnerships or school sports partnerships. Many have gone on to work into coaching academies. Some have worked abroad. There's just a bit of a flavour there for some of the jobs that our students have gone into. So that's it from me in terms of what this particular course is around, and I hope that gives you a bit of a start in terms of the essence and the flavour of some of the topics you might be studying and where we come from in terms of how we may teach this particular degree. You've probably got lots of other questions, so I'd like to hand back to Kari and the students now to perhaps answer some of those questions, and obviously I'll chip in as well.
Brilliant, thank you, Ryan. Ryan, actually, the first question for you, could you let us know what the assessments are like? Is it all exams? Is it practical based?
A real mix. I would say that there's it's university work. You will be doing some written work, obviously. So what we try and do is mix up that written work. So you may have some essays, you may have some reports, you may have some portfolios. Some of those will even be online. So, for example, in the placement in the second year, you do an online kind of website portfolio, which enables you to kind of track what you're doing and have evidence of the work you've completed. I would say it's probably 50-50 in terms of written work and what we would class as practical work. So you may have some presentations. So we're big fans of that because that reflects how the industry looks quite often. You also have quite a lot of practical work. So on the event management module in the second year, you'll get assessed on your delivery of an event. On a lot of the coaching modules, you get the opportunity to be assessed on your practical coaching skills. In the third year, if you're doing the BA course, you even get the opportunity on a graduate employability module to take part in a mock job interview. So there's a real varied assessment diet. We certainly don't get you doing exams for every module across all 3 years. We wouldn't like that either.
Brilliant, thank you, Ryan. Okay, I'm going to go to Cully now, if that's okay, Cully. And would you just be able to tell us, just from a student perspective, what's the best part of this course?
So I think one of the best things about this course is it is very hands-on. So you don't get thrown into it as such, but you do, like in first year, you do a couple of weeks placement to kind of see what it's like. Then obviously second year, you've got your years-long placement. So you do a lot of work with like clubs around the like in Plymouth. So like we do a lot with Plymouth Argyle, we do a bit of Plymouth Albion, and just lots of different companies, that's the word, around Plymouth, in and around Plymouth, which is really good.
Brilliant. And how did you find being put on placement?
So I quite enjoy being put on placement, just because it's something different, and it was quite exciting to do something different that I'd done some of it before, but more kind of, it was a lot more relaxed, so I learned quite a lot from it.
Great, thank you.
I think if I don't mind, just if you don't mind me jumping in there, I was going to say a lot of degrees quite often with regards to placements have like a sandwich year, or it's something that you have to maybe take a year off in your studies. I think we do quite well is because of our excellent partnerships with some of those organisations that Cully has mentioned, whether that be a professional sports club or lots of community-based sort of sports development and coaching organisations. We're able to kind of allow students to go out and do that alongside their second year study. So it means that you don't have to take any time off from your degree to get some real hands-on kind of employability skills. And the important thing to bear in mind with things like placement, they might make you a better coach or understand sports development and how to get people involved in sport a bit better, but they give you a hell of a lot of transferable skills in terms of independence, being able to work autonomously, solving problems, juggling different projects, how to communicate with different types of people. And a lot of our students actually value that over maybe the ability to do a coaching session plan a bit better. So some really good advantages to doing it that way.
Brilliant, thanks for that, Ryan. And I'm going to keep you on the screen, and we've had another question come in. Is there any placement for the foundation degree?
Yes, there is. So they'll do a placement in the second year, just like students on the BA. And like I say, I think for those on the foundation degree, they also, because foundation degrees are set up slightly differently in terms of the expectation for even greater amount of employer partnerships and doing hands-on real work. We do a lot in the BA, but for the guys doing the FDA, there'll be even more of that. So for example, in the first year, there's a community sport module where they're going to be doing some specific work around, working with the Plymouth Argyle Community Trust around that. So even more opportunities, I would say, on that degree.
Great, thank you, Ryan. And Beth, I'm going to come over to you quickly, if that's okay. I know you're part of some sports clubs. Would you be able to talk to us a little bit about kind of the extracurricular things outside of kind of lectures?
Yeah, so as Kari mentioned, I play quite a bit of sport at Marjon. I play football and rugby in particular. However, there are so many different sports. I couldn't even name them all that you can kind of get involved in. And fortunately enough, most courses allow you to have the day off on our game day, which is Bucks Wednesday, as you may already know. So by doing so, you can still get involved with sport outside of your lectures without it affecting your education. Obviously, there may be times where you might have an assessment on a game day where you might just need to obviously not be able to play that week, or be fortunate enough that it takes up your morning and your afternoon still free. But there is a lot of opportunity on campus, which is obviously ideal, especially if you're living on campus, as everything's right on your doorstep to get involved with.
Brilliant, thanks Beth. And can you talk a little bit, I know it's a slightly different course, but there's quite a few similarities, I think. Can you talk a little bit about how you balance work, sport, and then your course?
Yeah, sure. Obviously, the more you decide to take on whilst at uni, it can get a bit difficult. Obviously, with trying to get a degree, and I play for 2 clubs at uni, as well as 1 club outside of university. It's kind of important to manage your time well. So just making sure that you put your education first. Like, obviously you want to enjoy uni and it's all about the experience. It's not just about your degree, whilst that be maybe your initial reason for going to university. But you still want to know that you've achieved as well as you can. So just managing your time is really important, just to make sure that you get everything done to your deadlines.
Brilliant, thank you. And Cully, I'm going to come over to you. Just so you know, I did mute you a second ago, so you might want to unmute. Would you be able to tell us a little bit about kind of the contact time you get each week and how that's split up?
Yeah, so it varies kind of each week, as you do a couple of different modules over the year. So like the first semester, which is September to January, we did 4 modules, and then we did 4 in the second semester, which is then February to March, May, whenever you finish, June. And so 2 of the modules overrun, so you have those the whole year, and the other 2 are just in the semester. So it depends if they're more placement based or whether they're like classroom learning based. So we used to have probably about 12 hours of contact time a week, and then you do your work outside the lessons as well. Sometimes we might have had a bit more, sometimes we might have had a bit less, depending if we had placement that week or depending what modules we were doing.
Yeah, and what was your experience, kind of, especially thinking of first year? How was that jump from school or college into university?
So it's quite a big jump. But yeah, I was lucky enough, so I've boarded pretty much all my life when I was at school, so I kind of already had that I kind of knew how to just be away from the family, be away from home, kind of the independence, whereas not everyone has that. So I lived with a couple of girls that had never been away from home, and they found it quite scary that they were going to be left in a place they didn't know, where they didn't know anyone, and they were kind of just chucked into it. So it is a big jump, especially if you've like always been at home. You might not kind of know what you're doing, but you've got to remember that everyone's in the same situation as you, so you kind of are all there to help each other.
Yeah, and did you find kind of Ryan and Phil useful kind of as you started?
Yeah, they were really useful. They're really helpful. So their offices are on campus, and their doors are always open to go and have a chat. If you're a bit wary of something or you're a bit unsure, they're always kind of around to just help you out.
Brilliant, thanks Cully. And Ryan, if I come back to you, going back to those contact hours and kind of your expectations of the students outside of lectures, could you talk to us a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the contact hours, it's probably about 12 hours a week where you're in lectures, which leaves you with a lot of free time. Now, clearly, the best thing to do isn't to leave it until right at the end of the semester and then panic and do all of your assessments then. I think from my own experience, the students that tend to do really well on the degree are the ones who actually go and do more kind of employability type stuff outside of the lectures. So, for example, those students that do their about sort of 12 to 15 hours of contact time and then maybe get some coaching qualifications, do some sort of part-time work in the local community, stuff that's related to the degree, they tend to do actually better because they value their time and they can chunk up their study time, their lecture time, their work time, their socialising time. And I think those that just go to lectures tend to kind of let that time drag on. So I think my biggest advice, all the way through the degree, we give you plenty of opportunities to make connections with the industry. I would grab those opportunities. We can help you to obviously facilitate some of those. But I think it's really important that you grab those opportunities, because I think in a post-coronavirus environment, I think you'd be doing the right thing by maybe investing a few years in making yourself better through degree study. But I think at the end of that, there may be a few people that will say, well, I've got a degree too. So I think if you can say you've got a degree with an accreditation and some coaching qualifications and some experience, not just through the degree, that's stuff you've done on your own back, then I think you'll be much better for it.
Great, thank you. And we've had another question, which I think I know a little bit the answer to, but one of you guys might be better placed. We've got someone who's interested in martial arts. What's the facilities like at Marjon? I know we've got the sports centre, and I'm pretty sure there's a martial arts group that meets there, isn't there?
It would depend on the martial art, I think. We've had martial arts clubs at Marjon, like short student run clubs. Quite often though, they tend to be driven by particular individuals who are really into that particular sport. They might drag a few friends along, and sometimes that continues when they graduate and leave, and sometimes then someone else will come in with a different kind of preference. Having said that, we do have some really good links with some local clubs. So I've got some really good contacts within judo. I know there's some other members of staff have got links with karate. I know there's a karate club that sort of operates. I think that's actually someone who works in our computer and services team.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do have martial arts, and I think we've had students that have gone on and competed in BUCS in the past in the student sport. So yeah.
Brilliant, thank you. And they've said specifically Taekwondo. So I'd guess I've seen something advertised for that, I'm sure, but I'd guess that's similar to what you were saying. You know, if it's not there, you're able to kind of really run with it and set it up, and it will look great on your CV afterwards as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we've had sports development students, in fact, people on this very course who have come to Marjon and said, there's not a student team in this, can I start one? And they've started one off their own back and got some really good jobs off the back of it as well. Some of the experiences and things that they've gone through to set up a brand new club. So yeah, that can happen. And even if you're just looking for somewhere to train, we can put you in contact with people locally, certainly.
Brilliant, thank you. And just kind of staying on that sort of sport, Beth and Cully, could you guys nod at me? I think I'm right in saying you guys are both on committees for teams, aren't you? Brilliant. Beth, I'm going to go to you first. Could you just tell us a little bit, oh, sorry, I've just muted you by accident. Could you just tell us a little bit about what that's like and what that's going to do for your future and how that fits in with your course as well?
Yeah, so obviously when you join a team, teams are student-led at Marjon. Obviously then that means that there's roles within the team. They vary from role to role. You could have a captaincy role. You could have a social sec role. Each role kind of gives you different responsibilities. So next year I'm going to be rugby captain. This year I was vice captain and I was football social sec. So the kind of things that I was doing, so as part of my social sec role, I was kind of creating fun events for people, some of these involving drinking, some of them just being fun days out, kind of movie nights, getting takeaway, just kind of socially interacting with each other. Obviously, the different roles mean you have different responsibilities. A captaincy role, for example, you're handling money, you're trying to put your team together, you've got to make sure everyone can get there on a game day. So it's kind of helping you boost your organisational skills at the same time whilst playing something that you just enjoy.
Great, thanks Beth. And then Chloe, we'll come over to you. Have you got anything else to add to that one for me?
Yeah, so with the captaincy one, it's not, I think the main thing, and I think it's the thing that everyone kind of works towards, is varsity. And that's like a week in March, normally beginning mid-March, that where we play any sports where Plym Uni and Marjon both play them, we will play against each other. And basically you've got whoever wins gets the points, and then it all adds up at the end of the week to who wins varsity with the most points. And I think one of the best things about being captain, which I was this year, was being able to create the kit for that. So you raise your money from the events that the social secs organise, and then you create your own kit, buy it, then you have a little kit reveal the day of your game and everything. And that's really good. And I think that's one of the kind of the best bits about it, is being able to kind of design that kit and just kind of show everyone and see what everyone thinks.
Great, thank you. And could I ask you a question about placement, Cully? What's your experience of placements been like on the course?
So I did 3 weeks in the first year, which was coaching in a primary school, just doing kind of general multi-sports, kind of developing their general set of skills. And then second year, so I think if I'm right in saying, Ryan, it's slightly different because they do events management on this course next year?
No, it'll be
No, so I did a slightly different one. So I did events management, which was then creating an event with. So I worked with Plymouth Argyle, Community Trust, Manadon Sports and Community Hub, and Civil Service and Roeborough Cricket Club, and we created like a family fun cricket day. But the other placement which I've had, which a lot of my friends did, I'm not sure when they started, but they went into schools and went and coached once a week. Some of them did extra and did a cricket club on a Sunday evening. So it's very much kind of going off your own back and finding your placement.
Brilliant, thank you. And Ryan, is there kind of the support there to help students find placement if they're struggling?
Yeah, there really is. I'm the module leader for placements and event management, so I get to sort of hopefully help students through a lot of this kind of hands-on real work with organisations. So placement in particular, there's normally a bit of a list of organisations and individuals that people can come and sort of say, can I do a placement with those, please? So we normally got a list of about 40 or 50 different placement opportunities. Having said that, most students just tend to do it off their own back. They say, I'm really interested in doing X, Y, or Z, and we hopefully facilitate that. So there's plenty of support. I would say 99.9% of students find somewhere to do a placement. So yeah.
Brilliant, thank you. I've not had any more questions come up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop over to Phil and see if he would like to add anything or say anything in regards to the course, anything we might have missed.
Hello. No, I don't think there's anything you've missed, to be honest. I think Ryan and Kelly and Beth have kind of covered some really core points, and I think Ryan really hit the nail on the head when he talked about the things that people do in addition to the course. University is not the end game in any of this. University is a transition between where you are now and where you might want to be in the future, and therefore it's really important to take all the opportunities that are available and grab them with both hands and do something with it. So Ryan and myself just did graduate employability modules. We work with 5 local businesses essentially that work in sport, and it really stands out because students have to do a letter of application and a CV, and there's no hiding place on that where it says what your qualifications are in terms of industry related, what your experience has been. And if the student only says I did a university placement because I had to, essentially, and I only did an event management thing at uni because I had to, and they haven't had a part-time job and they have got no other industry experience, there's such a gulf then between that person in terms of how ready they are for their first graduate employment and those that have just done the bare minimum. So it's like anything in life, you know, it's ultimately it's people's personalities that do that. It's not what we do as teachers. It's whether people come to us. Now, sometimes we have to put our arm around people with the small groups if they need a bit of reassurance. Sometimes we might need to give them a little kick up the bum. But because we've got really small numbers relatively to other unis, so it's not like our students are going to be on a program with 120. Where some of my colleagues work in other unis. So my brother works in another uni in Bristol, and he said he hardly knows one student from the next because he's just doing repeat seminars all week because he's got 500 students on a module. We get to know us, so we know Cully, we know Beth. I know roughly where they're coming from, what their career aspirations are. So we can start to build those relationships and we can tailor it. And it's also our employment partners, they get, because they teach into the program consistently, they get to know students as well. So some of the jobs that our students have gone to get, they've kind of got those before they've left because they've already made the industry connections and built those relationships. So I think it is about, Margins is different. It's about investing in the relationships with lecturers, with students, with the rest of the staff, and in the local industry, and that's what gives people the advantage. Then go into a massive institution where they're rattling around 120 people on a year group. It might sound brilliant to be one of 40,000, but you can become Mr. or Mrs. Anonymous quite quickly, and it might be great to hide, but then when your CV says what have you been up to for the last 3 years, suddenly you're kind of hanging out a bit. So yeah, so we care about people. As students care about us, we care about them, and we work together. So our student success, is our success. So that's really what it's all about for us.
Great, thank you, Phil. And Ryan, do you have any last words to add?
No, only to say thank you for listening. If you are really sort of thinking to yourself, what do I do? How will university look from September onwards? I think maybe some of those messages I said at the start around what we're good at here at Marjon is making connections with students and hopefully teaching in the best way possible. Whether that's going to be some stuff online for a few more months, or whether that will be face to face, it'll be good. Because I like to think that I know that might seem a bit arrogant, but I'm really confident in everybody's abilities at Marjon to make it a really special place to learn. And I think that allied with some of the other partnerships and the accreditations and the opportunities for coaching and hands-on work hopefully means that we're a pretty strong choice for many. I'm sure that if you came here, you'd really enjoy it.
Great, thank you very much. So we've not had any other questions come up, and I know that Ryan's just put up on the screen the contact details of those of Phil and Ryan, and then one of the other lecturers, Lee. I've popped Phil and Ryan's email addresses in the Q&A box for you. I also, where Ryan talked earlier about kind of the modules and kind of said to look at the website, I've also popped those links for the BA and the FDA in there, so please do go have a look at those. If you do have any more questions after this is finished and you think, oh, I wish I'd asked that, just drop Ryan and Phil an email. I know they're really busy at the moment in terms of marking, but I know they will also make time to get in touch with you guys. So please do drop them an email. And if you do if you are thinking, oh, it'd be really great to find out more about kind of sport at Marjon, or kind of have a guided campus tour, find out more about living at Marjon, then we've got loads of talks running throughout the next few weeks. So please do go onto our website and have a look at the Marjon Live talks and book yourselves on for any that you might be interested in. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you guys all have a really good day. Bye.